If you're diabetic and struggling to control your blood sugar, the answer might not be in a new medication, but in 3 powerful vitamins your body is silently begging for. Most people overlook these, but today you'll discover the top 3 vitamins that can naturally support your blood sugar, improve insulin sensitivity, and protect your nerves, kidneys, and heart. Stick around till the end, because number 3 is the one most people are dangerously low in, and it could make all the difference. Welcome to Food Humanie. Zahir and Aisha will share their thoughts about it. So Zahir, are we talking about top 3 vitamins?
Exactly. And that's what we're digging into today on The Deep Dive. We're focusing on something vital, especially if you're living with diabetes.
Which is?
The top 3 vitamins, that could be really crucial for how you feel, how you function every day.
Okay. And we're basing this on some solid info.
Our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is to pull out the absolute must-know info about these 3 vitamins.
And explain why they matter so much for managing diabetes.
Precisely. Think of it as a shortcut, getting you the core understanding so you feel more informed, maybe see some steps you could take.
Right, because you might be experiencing some of these things, the fatigue, maybe some muscle weakness, even tingling or numbness, and not connect it to, a basic vitamin deficiency playing a big role.
It's easily overlooked.
So let's jump in. First up is a vitamin our source suggests could be a real missing link for a lot of people.
Yeah, vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Okay.
And what's really striking about vitamin D is just how common a deficiency is. The source mentions over 1 billion people worldwide don't get enough.
Wow, 1 billion. That's huge.
It is. But here's the key thing for our listeners managing diabetes.
Yeah.
The risk is even higher.
How much higher?
The stat that jumped out was that a full 50%, half of individuals with diabetes have low vitamin D levels.
Half. Okay, that's not just a minor issue then. That's a serious shortage with real consequences.
Definitely. Serious knock-on effects.
All right, so let's unpack that. What happens in your body if you have diabetes and your vitamin D is low? The source mentioned some pretty significant problems.
It did. First off, and probably most directly relevant, is insulin resistance.
Okay.
Low vitamin D can actually make your body less sensitive to insulin.
Yeah.
And insulin's like the key.
Right, opening the cell doors for sugar.
Exactly. And when you're resistant, that lock gets stiff. Vitamin D seems to help amplify insulin signal, helps the cells hear the call to take up glucose.
So without enough D, blood sugar control gets harder.
Much more challenging. But it goes way beyond blood sugar. Vitamin D is vital for heart health.
How so?
Well, without enough, your blood vessels can get stiff. This leads to a 40% higher risk of developing high blood pressure.
40%.
Yeah. And the source even says you're twice as likely to get heart disease and face almost a 50% higher risk of heart failure if your levels are low.
Wow. Those numbers they're really sobering, especially for heart health.
They really are. Substantial impact.
But it's not just the heart, is it? I remember the source talking about muscle strength, too.
Absolutely. Vitamin D is essential for muscles to work properly, maintain strength. When you're deficient, you might feel that muscle weakness or get those annoying cramps.
Yeah, out of nowhere sometimes.
Right. Or just that feeling like your legs can't keep up. And this increases your risk of falls and fractures.
Which is especially dangerous if you already have circulation issues or neuropathy from diabetes.
Exactly. A really dangerous combination.
And speaking of neuropathy, the nerve damage, vitamin D is involved there too.
Yes, very much so. It's vital for protecting your nerve cells.
Yeah.
Think of nerves like wires needing insulation.
Okay.
Vitamin D helps maintain that insulation. Low levels, the nerves can miss fire. That's where the tingling, burning, numbness comes in, classic diabetic neuropathy symptoms.
And if it's not addressed,
it can lead to permanent nerve damage.
Yeah.
And what's also quite concerning is the link to brain health. The source highlights that people with low vitamin D have a higher risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. Suggests the brain really relies on it.
It feels like vitamin D touches almost everything. What about kidneys? I think I remember a connection there.
That's a really important one, often missed. Your kidneys actually activate vitamin D into the form your body uses.
Okay.
But diabetes is a leading cause of kidney disease. So if your kidneys aren't working well, they can't activate enough vitamin D.
Ah, I see.
And here's the kicker, the sort of vicious cycle. Low active vitamin D can then further increase your risk of kidney failure.
Oh, wow. So it's a negative feedback loop.
Exactly. It can quietly speed up kidney damage.
That's definitely a wake-up call. And it seems the effects aren't just physical, mood, fertility.
That's right. Low D has been linked to depression, anxiety, even that general brain fog.
Yeah, where things just feel unclear.
And while maybe more research is needed, the source also points to a potential link between vitamin D deficiency and issues with fertility and libido.
It just really underscores how widespread the impact of this one vitamin can be.
Totally. On your whole well-being.
So with all these potential problems, why are people with diabetes specifically at such high risk for being low in vitamin D?
Well, there are several factors. The source mentions underlying metabolic issues in diabetes can hinder the body's ability to make and use vitamin D well.
Okay, that makes sense.
Obesity, which is common in type 2, also plays a role. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, so it can get trapped in fat cells, making less available.
Right.
We mentioned the kidney damage affecting activation. Certain medications can interfere too.
Which ones? Though maybe it's too specific.
The source doesn't list them all, but it's something to be aware of. And finally, inflammation, often higher in diabetes, can also impact how your body handles vitamin D.
Okay, a lot of contributing factors. So how would you even know if your levels are low? Are there obvious signs?
The source mentions some possibilities, like persistent fatigue you can't shake, bone pain, muscle weakness, maybe wounds healing slowly, getting sick often.
But those are pretty vague symptoms, aren't they?
Exactly. They could be anything, which is why the source really emphasizes the only definitive way to know your vitamin D status is a blood test.
Got it. Blood test. And what are the target levels?
Well, below 20 nanograms per milliliter, (NGML), is considered deficiency. But for optimal health, many experts now suggest aiming for between 40 and 60 NGML.
40 to 60. Okay. So if you find out your levels are low, what can you do? Can you get enough just from food?
It can be pretty challenging to get enough from food alone, especially if you're already low.
But there are some good sources.
Oh yes, cod liver oil is a powerhouse, over 1,300 IU per tablespoon.
Wow.
Fatty fish like salmon has around 500 IU per serving. And interestingly, UV-exposed mushrooms can have up to 1,100 IU per cup.
UV-exposed mushrooms? Okay.
Yeah, depends how they're treated. Egg yolks, fortified dairy have some, but you'd need to eat a lot.
Right. And the source had those fun luxury meal examples, too.
Yes. Pan-seared salmon with truffle mushroom risotto, close to 1,000 IU.
Sounds amazing.
And creamy lobster bisque with cod liver oil and wild mushrooms over 1,400 IU. Makes getting vitamin D sound quite gourmet.
It certainly does. But realistically, for most people...
Realistically, given how common deficiency is, especially with diabetes, supplementation often becomes necessary.
Yeah.
And effective.
Okay. What kind of supplement?
The source recommends vitamin D3, usually with K2 added.
Why K2?
Vitamin K2 helps make sure the calcium you absorb goes to your bones, not potentially into your arteries.
Ah, important detail.
And dosage.
A typical starting point is at least 2,000 IU of D3 daily. But some might need more. Best to get tested and talk to your doctor about your specific need.
Always best to check with a doctor. Good advice. Are there things we might be doing that make a D deficiency worse without realizing?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
The source points to diet, lots of processed foods, sugary drinks. They can interfere with absorption and use.
Okay.
Also excessive caffeine and alcohol. So if those are staples in your diet, you might be hindering your body's ability to use the vitamin D you are getting. Makes sense. Diet matters. Okay, that's a really thorough look at vitamin D. Clearly not something to ignore if you're managing diabetes.
Definitely not.
Let's move to vitamin number 2. Vitamin E. The source called this the body's shield.
That's a great analogy. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant. It protects your cells from damage by unstable molecules, free radicals.
And diabetes increases those damaging molecules.
Yes, it leads to something called oxidative stress, basically an imbalance where these harmful free radicals overwhelm your body's defenses, causing damage at the cellular level.
And like with vitamin D, millions are deficient in E, especially diabetics, often without knowing.
Exactly the same story. Higher risk, often silent.
Why the higher risk for diabetics again?
It comes back to that oxidative stress. Diabetes just creates more cellular damage. Vitamin E is a key defender against that, neutralizing those free radicals.
So it protects blood vessels, heart, nerves, kidneys.
Right. But when your E levels drop, that protective shield weakens. Your cells become much more vulnerable.
Okay, so what are the specific consequences then if you're managing diabetes and you're low on vitamin E?
Well, starting with the heart again. Adequate vitamin E helps keep blood vessels flexible and strong.
And without it,
They can stiffen. This contributes to plaque buildup, slows blood flow. It really ups your risk for high blood pressure, strokes, heart attacks.
Is there a stat for that one too?
Yes, the source mentioned people with low E levels have a 30% higher chance of developing heart disease.
30%. Another significant risk, especially when you add it to the existing diabetes risks.
Absolutely, it layers on top.
And muscles, like with D, are there muscle issues with low E?
Yes, vitamin E is important for muscle health and function. Deficiency can show up as weakness, those cramps again, maybe slower movement, poor coordination.
Leading to falls?
Unfortunately, yes. Increased fall risk, slower recovery from activity, and the source also notes low E can speed up the aging process generally.
Wow. And nerve damage. Does E help protect nerves too?
It does. Similar to vitamin D, it helps shield nerves from damage. Low levels can actually worsen neuropathy symptoms, the tingling, numbness, burning pain.
And potentially make it irreversible over time.
That's the risk, yes.
It's really striking how these vitamins link to so many diabetes complications. What about vision? Did the source mention vitamin E in eyes?
It did. Those tiny blood vessels in your eyes need vitamin E for health. Deficiency can weaken them.
Eating too.
Potentially blurred vision, more sensitivity to light. And if you're already at risk for diabetic retinopathy, low E can make it worse, possibly causing permanent damage.
Scary stuff. And again, a mention of fertility and libido.
That's right. Vitamin E is involved in producing certain hormones. Low levels might affect testosterone in men, estrogen in women, even sperm quality.
So energy, desire, fertility could all be impacted.
Could be a contributing factor worth looking into. And don't forget the kidneys, they need that antioxidant protection too. E helps provide it. Deficiency can contribute to kidney function decline.
It really sounds like, as the source said, a silent threat. You might not know you're low until damage is done.
That's such a critical point. The symptoms often creep up slowly. Fatigue, weakness, nerve pain, vision changes. Easy to dismiss.
Right.
By the time it's obvious, the deficiency might have been there a while, and the damage could be more advanced. That's why testing is important.
Blood test again? What's the level for E?
Yes, blood test. Under 5 milligrams per liter is generally considered deficient, but optimal levels are likely higher for overall health.
Okay, so where can you get vitamin E naturally? Food sources.
There are some excellent ones. Wheat germ oil is a real standout. 1 tablespoon has over 100% of your daily needs.
Wheat germ oil, okay.
Sunflower seeds are fantastic too, nearly 50% in just an ounce. Almonds, hazelnuts, spinach are also good contributors.
And the Logerie examples for E, I remember those sounded good too.
Ah, yes. Truffle-infused almond pate, sunflower seed-crusted salmon, hazelnut and spinach-stuffed portobellos.
Delicious and packed with vitamin E.
They show you can get it from food strategically. But similar to D, food alone might not be enough to fix a deficiency, especially with the higher needs from diabetes-related oxidative stress.
So supplementation might be needed again.
It's often a helpful tool. The source recommends natural vitamin E. Look for D-alpha tocopherol on the label. It works better than synthetic.
Okay, natural form. Dosage.
Around 400 IU daily is generally seen as safe and beneficial for many adults. Some research suggests mixed tocopherol supplements might be even better.
Mixed, meaning different forms of E.
Exactly, providing broader antioxidant benefits. But again, balance is key. Don't go overboard without talking to your doctor.
Got it. Are there things that deplete vitamin E or make deficiency worse?
Yes, dietary culprits again. Processed junk food, trans fats, refined sugars. Also, very low-fat diets can be a problem.
Why low-fat diets?
Because E is fat-soluble. You need some healthy fat in your diet to absorb it properly.
That makes sense. Anything else?
Alcohol. Regular consumption can deplete vitamin E levels faster. So mindful food choices are really crucial here too.
It really highlights looking at the whole picture, doesn't it? Not just supplements, but daily food choices.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's tackle our third and final crucial vitamin for this deep dive. Vitamin B12. The source called this essential for red blood cells, nerve protection, brain function.
Absolutely. B12 is a real workhorse nutrient, vital for so many key processes.
And deficiency is common, especially in older adults, but again, higher risk for diabetics.
That's the pattern.
Right.
Over 20% of people over 60 are low, but yes, and even higher risk with diabetes.
And what's concerning with B12 is how slowly the signs develop.
Yes, very gradually. So you might not realize that there's a problem until significant damage has potentially occurred.
Okay, so what are the consequences for someone managing diabetes? Heart health, nerves, brain?
Yes, quite widespread impacts. For the heart, B12 helps regulate an amino acid called homocysteine.
Homocysteine.
Right. Low B12 lets homocysteine levels rise, and high levels are linked to more heart disease and stroke risk.
Yep.
Low B12 can also contribute to stiffer blood vessels, more blood clotting risk, make blood pressure harder to control, basically weakens circulation, strains the heart.
Is there a risk percentage tied to that?
The source mentioned a potential 30% higher risk of heart complications with low B12.
Another 30%. And the nerve damage aspect seems especially relevant for diabetic neuropathy again.
Exactly. B12 is absolutely critical for the myelin sheath, that protective coating around nerves.
The insulation, like you mentioned for D.
Precisely. B12 deficiency can cause that sheath to break down. Nerves misfire. You get pain signals without injury, eventually loss of sensation.
Worsening neuropathy.
Significantly. Making walking hard, affecting balance, causing terrible exhaustion. And the source knows B12 is vital for cell repair generally, so deficiency can speed up aging.
And the brain needs B12 too.
Absolutely. For a healthy cognitive function. Deficiency can show up as a sluggish mind, memory problems, even contribute to depression.
And vision.
Yes, the optic nerve needs B12. Low levels can lead to its deterioration. Faded colors, blurry vision, blind spots, especially concerning if you already have retinopathy risk.
It really is like a domino effect.
Yeah.
One deficiency ripples through so many systems. Fertility and kidneys mentioned for B12 as well?
Yes. B12 plays a role in reproductive health for both men and women, sperm production, hormone balance, egg development. Deficiency can make conception harder, reduce libido due to fatigue and poor circulation.
Okay. And kidneys.
Kidneys need oxygen-rich blood. B12 is needed for red blood cells. Deficiency can cause anemia, less oxygen to the kidneys, increasing kidney disease, risk a huge concern in diabetes.
So why are people with diabetes at higher risk for B12 deficiency?
A couple of key reasons. One big one is metformin.
The common diabetes medication.
The most common one for type 2,
Yeah.
yes. Metformin has been shown to reduce the body's ability to absorb B12 from food.
Really?
Yeah, and the longer you take it, the greater the potential risk of deficiency.
That's crucial information for people on metformin.
Definitely. Also, digestive issues like low stomach acid or certain autoimmune conditions affecting this stomach can hinder B12 absorption from food too.
Okay. So what signs might someone notice if they're low in B12? You said they're subtle?
They can be very varied and subtle. Persistent fatigue that rest doesn't fix, feeling dizzy, muscle weakness, memory problems.
Well, physical signs too.
Yeah, brittle nails, thinning hair, slow wound healing, getting infections often, mood swings, even headaches.
Wow, that's a long list of nonspecific symptoms.
Exactly. Easy to blame on other things.
Yeah.
But B12 deficiency should be considered, especially with diabetes and metformin use.
Right. So how do you get B12 food and supplements again?
Primarily from animal products and food.
Yeah.
Clams are exceptional, huge amounts per serving.
Clams. Okay.
Beef liver is another B12 powerhouse. Fatty fish like salmon and tuna are good sources. Dairy has some, but smaller amounts.
And the luxury B12 examples, were they impressive?
Oh, yeah. A seafood platter, oysters, scallops, clams like 14, 18 micrograms per bite. Rich beef liver pate, over 50 milligrams per serving. Seared salmon with truffle butter, over 4 milligrams. Definitely gourmet B12 options.
Makes you want a seafood platter, but for every day and considering absorption issues.
Right. Supplementation is often necessary, frequently recommended.
Yeah.
Methylcobalamin is a natural form, usually easily absorbed.
Dosage for that.
A common starting dose to fix the deficiency is around 1,000 micrograms daily. Cyanocobalamin is another effective form.
And sometimes injections.
In severe cases, yes. Your doctor might recommend injections for faster results.
Okay. And lifestyle or diet things that make B12 deficiency worse?
Yes. Excessive alcohol is one. A diet high in processed junk food, low in nutrients. And importantly,
Yes.
diets very low in animal products if you're not supplementing with B12. That's a major risk factor, as animal foods are the main natural sources.
So vegans, vegetarians really need to be mindful of B12 intake.
Absolutely critical for them to supplement appropriately. Lifestyle and diet choices really matter for B12 levels.
This has been incredibly insightful. It's just so clear that low levels of D, E, and B12 can have such a profound impact on health if you're managing diabetes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Affecting blood sugar, heart, nerves, energy, everything.
They're not minor players at all.
No, truly essential. And arguably even more important with the metabolic challenges of diabetes.
Now, this is vital for everyone listening. Remember, while we've explored this source deeply, this conversation is not medical advice. It's informational.
That's the crucial disclaimer.
If you have concerns about your vitamin levels, if you're feeling any symptoms we discussed, you absolutely must talk to your own healthcare provider.
Yes, they're the only ones who can do the right tests and give you personalized recommendations for your specific situation.
Couldn't agree more. This information is to empower you, to give you understanding.
Right, a starting point for that conversation with your doctor. That's the most important takeaway.
So as you go about your day, maybe think about which of these areas, vitamin D, E, or B12, resonates with you, with your experiences, maybe symptoms you've noticed. And consider what small, proactive step you could take today. Maybe it's just making a note to ask your doctor about testing at your next visit.
Or even just exploring some of those nutrient-rich foods next time you're shopping.
Exactly. It's all about being informed, being proactive, and really listening to what your body might be trying to tell you.